Our ancient sacred text is from John 20, verses 11 through 16. Meanwhile, Mary stood weeping beside the tomb. Even as she wept, she stooped to peer inside. And there she saw two angels in dazzling robes. One was seated at the head and the other at the foot of the place where Jesus' body had lain. They asked her, "Why are you weeping?" She answered them, "Because they have taken away my rabbi, and I don't know where they have put the body." No sooner had she said this than she turned around and caught sight of Jesus standing there, but she didn't know it was Jesus. He asked her, "Why are you weeping? For whom are you looking?" She supposed it was the gardener, so she said, "Please, if you're the one who carried Jesus away, tell me where you've laid the body, and I will take it away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned to him and said, "Rabboni," which means teacher.
Holy wisdom, holy word.
Thanks be to God.
Please be seated.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Many of you know I work with youth, and I've been accompanying some youth leaders around their nerves and public speaking. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna practice what I tell them and just shake it off really quick. If you would like to join me in your seats too. It's nice to be here. Happy Easter. It feels like many moons ago, Allison and I talked about what this Sunday and Easter would look like, new life. And through a cup of coffee, we talked about tears. I think I talk about tears a lot with a lot of you, so please forgive me if this is a repeat. But in that conversation, we looked at story and the calendar, and I said, you know what, I'm going to be coming back from Mexico the Sunday that we're looking at. So I might be supercharged by the sun and the stories and the ancestors, so maybe we'll see what they have to teach me about new life, and excited to bring those learnings to you all. So thank you for having me here. I will start out with some words that someone I love tells me quite often, but sometimes are hard for me to hear. So just don't let these things affect you. Still, I hear, just don't feel. Just stop doing that. And many of you know that I'm pretty feely. I love to feel. It's one of my favorite things. As I mentioned, I just got back from a week-long trip in Mexico with my mother and my aunts, who I've spoken about up here before. My cousins call them Las Magnificas, the magnificent ones. And they really are, man, they are busy people. I spent time in my mother's hometown of La Chichila, Zacatecas, speaking Spanish, eating tortillas and nopales, and spending time with the land and so many cows. And savoring that Spanish in ways that I haven't allowed myself to before. And it just felt so nourishing and continues to. Like something in me over the last week had been fed at the root. And I don't remember quite when I started learning or speaking in Spanish or English. They just both sort of appeared in my life. And this week, going into this time with my people and with the land, I wanted to savor the Spanish. And that was through my words and through my jokes and even through my thoughts. When I felt myself thinking in English, I wanted to slow them down and savor the Spanish. And it felt different. And I noticed something that I hadn't noticed before. A word that I say a lot but I didn't really savor. Sentir. Sentir, to feel. So often, I have heard this word as a warning and sometimes with negative connotations. No te sientes. Don't take things so personally. Don't feel so much. And again, feeling has been and continues to be the way that I move through the world. Pretty consistent vehicle these days. the way that I make meaning and connect with other people and other beings. Many of you know I grew up in restaurants, and alongside my parents and neighbors, I developed a strong palate. I really like to eat. I really like to taste. And I joke that I'm a super taster. But not just of food, I'm learning. I am a super taster of emotions as well. It's come across as a joke, but this week I learned it actually isn't a joke. It's very, very much part of my brand. So when I feel deeply, and sometimes it's a little unbearable. For me and for the people around me, as some of the people who have felt next to me know, they're pretty big. In my family, there was a name for that. Corazón de pollo. Any words jump out? Anybody? Heart. Heart of a chicken. I don't know that that's an expression in English. It is now. You are welcome to it. That's a learning from the ancestors to all of you this Sunday. Heart of a chicken. Weak, maybe, but also tender, I'm choosing to also rebrand. A term of endearment, maybe disguised as a warning. These women, las magníficas, I've spoken about, just kept giving me lessons all week. Like one of those pitching machines in the batting cages, but I wasn't even holding a bat or wearing a helmet. So here's just one that I saw by my famous Tia Pachita. Just the caricature of the town that I was in. Every morning, the women and shopkeepers and neighbors would sweep the concrete in front of their homes. And I was having a big feeling, and I said, "You're not crying." I was feeling tears fall from my face, and my aunt said, "Oh, daughter," everybody calls me Mija in my family. Mija, if I cried every time I felt sad, I would never stop crying and nothing would get done. And she didn't even look up. She just kept sweeping. And that sound is still so haunting, the shh, 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 back and forth. And I listened and I learned and spent years recounting this story to myself and believing that I needed to do that too. Just keep getting it done. To be stronger and to hold it all in, and quite literally to dam up those tears. And sometimes, especially in the moment that we're in, I still feel that a little bit. Cosplaying, someone who's getting things done, a strong person and leader. But it does feel like cosplaying, I will say. As a kid, I could feel it in my body, the tension rising as I tried not to cry on the playground, on the bus. I would cry so much on the bus. My poor bus driver was just trying to do her job. And I remember the way that my body would react from holding in tears. It still does it. I would get these little welts and would hold in those like soft gasps for air. And I still do it. My yoga teacher will come by me in class sometimes and say, "Are you breathing?" And I'd have to remind myself, you have to do that too. Be stronger, I would whisper to myself, be stronger. As the pressure would build behind my eyes like that dam, really holding it in. And this week, the learnings from the sun and spirit and the ancestors reminded me something that our modern Savior text did as well. That those same tears that I got really used to holding back in pain are the same familiar ones that come when I can't contain my laughter with my aunts, my gratitude and my love. And some of those tears have fallen right here besides all of you. For a long time, I thought that those tears made me different from the strong people that I admired. So this year I just started asking those people, why are you like this and why don't you cry? I only had a week, so I had to get to the hard-hitting questions with them. And one of the Magnificas told me, I used to be like you, And I kept getting hurt. I would cry, nothing would change, so my tears just stopped coming. And my heart sank because what I knew was strength didn't sound like it in that story. What I heard was that something had to be buried. The tears just stopped coming. Las lágrimas no llegaron. And underneath that, I heard something. The sadness stopped, the joy stopped, and the life stopped. And something shifted again. That those tears, esas lágrimas, were not a weakness, like I had spent so long thinking about and seeing in myself. They were quite literally what was keeping me alive. They were the place where the love that I felt refused to disappear. The grief that I was storing refused to be buried. And the beauty insisted on being felt. And it changed the way I saw my tears. I got to meet them again. This year during Epiphany, Thea is not in the room, but I said, as the kiddos were walking around with intentional words on our Epiphany stars, I said, Thea, give me a good one. But I really meant, give me an easy one. The year before I got in choir, and that was like kind of a good one. And Thea didn't look, and she handed me love. I was like, okay, I can work with this. And that word has been helpful in the re-meeting of my tears. So thank you, Thea. I told her this morning. I try to see each tear as love for what was, for what is, and for what could still be. What's mine, and maybe what's not just mine. Those tears belong to the ones who came before me, the ones who had to hold it in, like I thought I did, swallowed their grief so that something could keep going. So this week, for the first time, I got to do something really special and different, and I stood at the grave of my maternal grandparents, Mama Nati and Papa Chon, with my mother and her sisters. I had never done that. Many of you know, we traveled to Mexico because my mother couldn't. And so walking in, it was very hot, so we had to walk at sunrise. Pretty majestical. Everything is more beautiful at sunrise, I also learned on this trip. And as we walked up, one of the Magnificas said, "Hola mama, hola papa, we're here." And my mother did something that I hadn't seen in a very long time, and she let her tears fall. And I put my hand on her back and I said, "How do you feel, Mom? ¿Cómo te sientes?" What words are coming up? She told me about the guilt, not being able to be with her parents as they aged because she was undocumented and stuck on this side of the border. The grief, not being able to say goodbye to them, and the gratitude that she was there now with her sisters and with me. I sat with those words as I saw the beautiful azalea that towered over the grave of my grandparents. And all of it at the same time. And it felt like for a moment, through us, me and the Magnificas and what was buried, and all of us for a long time was released that morning. My learning for this week was that maybe that was what resurrection was for me in that moment. So you were really onto something. Thank you for digging a little bit more, Allison. That it is not a life untouched by sadness, but a life that insists on feeling anyway. Not in the absence of those tears and holding them in and holding them back, but in welcoming them in their return. In a life where our tears, like Andrea Gibson shared, tell the truth about what we love. So, the learning, and maybe the invitation to you all, because I have trouble keeping those learnings to myself, is to trust our tears and what they have to tell us, to let them guide us towards what matters, to share them carefully, but honestly with the people who can hold them with us, who want to hold them with us. And I've become someone who believes now that our tears know where they belong. And when we follow them, they will lead us again and again back to that new life. So I don't know if that lands from the ancestors to me, but I came back with a sunburn and a little bit more tears. And I'm grateful for the opportunity and the question. And now I will invite you all, some of my visitors, no pressure, this is an invitation. A practice at Salt and Light and Central is we go into one-to-ones at this time. And it is just a time to reflect on the word and a question that I will ask you, but this is also a time to turn to your neighbor, you can take a walk, you can get another cup of coffee. See the sun is out to greet us. For about 7 minutes, I will invite you to ask, what are your tears teaching you about love? And what feels hard to trust them? Does that feel okay? Maybe not